Good evening. Welcome to the News Charter School Board of Directors meeting for January 24th, 2023. To establish a quorum, I will call the roll. Nicole is not here. Michelle is not here. Jason.
Here.
Benji.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
And I am here, so we have a quorum. So that is great. And then I'm going to go ahead, having established a quorum, I hereby call the meeting officially to order at 6:01 p.m. on January 24th, 2023. Now I will read the ethics statement. Conflict of interest reminder per North Carolina General Statute 138A-15E. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this board. Does any member of the board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Our November 2022 meeting minutes will be voted on and approved in March. They are not ready. And we do not have any public comment, and we do not have any guest discourse. So, Dr. Blackwell, do we have any correspondence from our authorizer?
We do not.
Okay, wonderful. Then take it away for the superintendent report.
Just a moment, I will share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so before I begin, we received some really exciting news yesterday about one of our staff members that I wanted to share that's not included on this agenda that you see here. We were notified that our very own Mr. Matisoff received the highest level state bonus for exceeding growth expectations in math on EOGs last year. And we are very excited for him. He is very excited, and I just wanted to make sure we recognized him before I jump into all of these things. So if you see him, tell him congratulations. We're very, very proud of the work that he has done and continues to do for our students.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And congrats to Mr. Matisoff and his students. That's wonderful news.
Just a little teaser for March. 48% of all of our 1st through 8th grade students met or exceeded our 1.25 years of growth at the mid-year mark for MAP testing. We will dig into those numbers in March, but I wanted to let you all know that we were very pleased that they had grown 1.25 years. They had met that goal or exceeded that goal halfway through the school year. We are also thankful to you all, the board, for the holiday gifts of coffee and snacks for our staff. It was much appreciated, and we're very grateful for your thoughtfulness and for your kindness. So the items that I have for you this evening are a review of the athletic eligibility, approval for an educational audiology management contract, a teacher salary and retention bonus, the 23-24 academic calendar. So I will go through all of those things as one by one, and we can jump right in. I will zoom in on this. I know that's small. So I've highlighted, this is the actual athletic eligibility policy from NEWS, and I've highlighted in green the areas in which I am proposing a change. Most of these changes are coming because of COVID and because we moved from a semester-based schedule for high school and for middle school into a 7-period day for a year-long schedule. So some of these changes are necessary because of that. So in factors for eligibility, item number 3 is the promotion of the student athlete. They must be academically promoted or pass 5 courses to remain eligible. It was 3 because we were on a 4-block schedule, but we have now moved it to 5 because they have 6 academic courses. The next requested change is item number 1 that you see on your screen, where we are asking that middle and high school student athletes not be absent more than 13 days. The previous requirement was 8 days. We are adding in 5 days for any COVID-related illnesses. While we would like to think that COVID is not impacting us as it did, which is the case, it is still impacting us. And we want to make sure that we've created a system where our students, if they suffer from that, they are still eligible for sports. Right now, the way it's worded, that if a student gets COVID and is out for 5 days, they can only miss 3 more days for the semester. Note that this doesn't say excused or unexcused. This is absences total. Item number 3 says that grades and attendance will be evaluated at the end of each semester and not at the end of each quarter. When we were on a semester schedule, that was necessary because our students only had essentially 2 quarters for their grades to count. And now we have 4. So moving to a semester-based grade evaluation just makes a little bit more sense because now we're on that 7-period year-long schedule. Number 4 relates to students in our Exceptional Children's Program. The wording on this needs to be updated so that it is accurate. Right now it says students who are in a regular curriculum, and that needs to say who follow the standard course of study. So I want to make sure we recognize that, and that we also change that from passing 5 classes instead of the C average. The next line about the assessment is performed by the EC director and the appropriate academy leader is unnecessary because all of our students are evaluated on this by our athletic directors. The next item is students in grades 6. This is item number 1. It was initially that students needed to have a C average in English, math, science, and social studies. We are asking that this be changed to a 70 average for all of their classes, not for each of those 4 core classes. The next item is that we are asking that all 6th grade students be eligible to. Was that on the computer? I don't get on the screen.
I just raised my hand.
Jason raised his hand.
Do you want me to finish up real quick and then go back to it?
That's fine if that's how we want to do it. That's good.
Okay, I'm almost through. Item number 3 is also very similar to item number 2 in the next section for high school. And what we're asking here is that all 6th graders are eligible to participate if they have been promoted. And the same thing for item number 2 here, that they are eligible for initial entry into 9th grade if they have been promoted. The reason for this is because we have a large number of students who come into our 6th grade and a large number who come into our 9th grade. And we want to make sure that we are providing as many opportunities as possible. This would work if we only had 5th graders from Noose moving into 6th grade, but we don't. We have a large number of students who come from private, from home, from other public school systems, and we just want to make sure we're giving all of those students a fair shake. And that does include our students as well, but just making sure that that initial entry point for athletics is available to our students. And then the last one is we are asking that the previous policy of a GPA of 2.25 be removed, and that they are just looking at the local promotion standards and the minimum of 5 courses in which they have passed the previous semester. So essentially, if a student comes in and they've passed all their courses in the fall first semester, they're eligible for spring sports. If they don't pass all their courses in the spring, the next fall, they are not eligible. The removal of this 2.25 GPA is really beneficial because when you have a year-long schedule, year-long courses, it's not easy to calculate GPA anymore. When we have semester-based courses, it's much easier, but with a year-long, it really has to be calculated by hand, and then you have to factor in quarter credits and half credits and 3/4 credits based on where we are in the school year. And so we're asking for ease of checking grades that on our athletic directors in particular, that we remove that and just go with the local promotion standards. Those are all the changes I have proposed. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment so I can see you all and answer your questions.
All right, now I got to go. Let me pull it over here. What was my question? This is why I like to ask them when I'm thinking about them, because
I'm sorry.
That's
It
all right.
was, I believe it was item number 4. Sorry, it was item number 3 whenever you interrupted on the middle school students eligible to participate in athletics.
Well, no, well, the overarching question is this. Well, I think it was the 70 that they got to pass. Oh, goodness. Well, here's the overarching question. Are all these changes only being made because of the semester to quarters and or high school athletic association changes, or some of these things that you and your staff sat down and said, hey, we need to do this because it just doesn't fit us? That was more my question.
Sure. So what we are trying to do, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association says that you can be more restrictive, not least restrictive. And I think in the past, Noose has been more restrictive. And prior to COVID, I think that was appropriate. But because of the learning loss, because of the struggles with academics that our students have faced, and then also with the attendances being absent, having to quarantine, things such as that, the impact on academics is universal. And so trying to make sure that we've factored in those adjustments for our students, and then also trying to be sure that we are allowing as much accessibility to athletics as possible. The ADs and I, along with a couple of other coaches, kind of put this together and said, right now, this is what makes sense for us and for our students.
Okay.
And I will say, with the understanding that once we get back on solid footing, and COVID continues to be something that we adapt to a bit better, we can certainly go back and revisit some of these things. But right now, we've got students that are struggling with attendance. We've had to submit attendance waivers for kids who've been really sick, who've had concussions because of their athletics, or injuries or accidents and things that have resulted from sports. And so we're trying to create more accessibility for our kids, because for some, sports is the thing that keeps them coming back to school and keeps them motivated in the classroom. Are there any other questions?
Yeah. So Melissa, just to make sure I'm looking at this on my other screen, and just to make sure that I'm understanding. So you've got at the top, you've got the factors for eligibility, and number 3 is the only one that changed, correct?
Yeah, anything in green, yeah, right. On your screen, I'll put it back up. Or if you're all in there, anything that's highlighted in green. So yes, for number 3, factors for eligibility. The next section, numbers 1, 3, and 4.
And so I guess my question is, so are the next 2 sections do they go into more detail, or are these all separate things? Like, I feel like number 3 under factors for eligibility is sort of the same as number 1 for high school. So you're just breaking it down into more detail later in there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I was just making sure that I was understanding it. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Asking for approval for this evening, so we can put this into place.
Can I ask one other quick question? When would this take effect? Would this take effect for this current semester? Would it take effect beginning in next school year?
It could take effect for this semester. Our spring sports have not yet started.
Okay. Any other questions?
And since these are less restrictive, that would more than likely encourage more participation then. Okay.
Yes.
Again, just want that out there on the record.
I have a question on the, I guess, for the high school students to be eligible to participate. Part number 1, minimum load defined as 5 courses in traditional school schedule. I know some of our students, especially as they get on up to senior year. So if you're taking senior year, if you have that restrictive limit of 5 and they only need 2 courses to finish up their requirements, would that limit you if you only took 3 classes in the fall semester? Would that limit you for being able to participate in spring sports?
Potentially. And this
If
is
they had a 4.0 GPA and only took 3 classes, that would limit them.
And this is a that particular point is a North Carolina High School Athletic Association requirement.
Yeah, I think you have to be considered a full-time high school student to participate in athletics based on the state requirements, right? So, and that's 5 courses is a minimum to be considered a full-time high school student in a traditional schedule.
Yeah, and on a block, it's 3 out of 4. Yeah.
So give me an example, Benji, of a student. How would they not be full time?
If you're taking 4 classes your senior year, your say fall semester of your senior year, you're taking 4 classes. Whether you have a 4.0 GPA or not, you would not be eligible to participate in athletics based on not having a minimum load of 5 classes.
But we couldn't even count them as FTE students then if they weren't taking full time for full credits. Right. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is surely to goodness, those kids that would fall into that are taking like a 3-block internship or 3 blocks of credit that is going towards something else. I'm assuming, Dr. Blackwell.
Right. A lot of our students who fall into that category are students who took Math 1 in 8th grade, English 1 in 8th grade. And so by the time they get to be a junior and a senior, they have met all of those requirements. And so that's when we look at JCC classes, virtual public school classes, options for them to take to get dual credit while still being eligible.
And can I ask this question too? I know right now we are transitioning our students. Our students were on block and we're transitioning to transitional. Many of, the upperclassmen, upper class students have, let me ask my question. So in a traditional schedule where you're taking 7 classes and they're year-long courses, we're less likely long-term, once students have been in these year-long classes, we're much less likely to have juniors or seniors only taking 4 classes because they won't have taken as many credits as they do during block. Is that correct? Yes. Right? Because they're going to be taking 7 per year versus most students take 8 per year in a block schedule. So by the time in a block schedule, a lot of upper class, especially senior students, are running out of classes to take, which I think is your point, Benji. But
That's correct. It was just a GPA before. The 2.25 seemed to be your limiting factor, where now the number of courses appears to be your limiting factor. But if, as Dr. Blackwell said, if it is a state requirement there to have the 5 out of 7, then we can't do anything that's less restrictive. So I guess my point is moot. I just hate to penalize a high-performing student that has taken accelerated classes early, and then now they're getting penalized their junior year, senior year based upon you not having a full load as dictated here.
I agree. And that point has been raised, I believe, a couple of times already this year for that very reason, that students are able to take accelerated courses or are at an advanced track and run out of classes. And in order to be, eligible, they're grabbing whatever they can grab to take. So
yeah, that was, and so so our guidance counselors are actively trying to coach those kids to make sure that they've got classes. Even though if I were a senior, I probably wouldn't want to take more, right. but to be eligible, there is that option to add those classes. Then.
Yes.
But look, Benji, that was a really good question. I'd have never thought of that. So you were clearly one of those smart kids, Benji.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect.
No.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I will entertain a motion on the proposed changes to the athletic eligibility requirements.
So moved.
Okay. So, and Benji, did you second? I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to approve the changes to the athletic eligibility requirements as described by Dr. Blackwell. I will call the roll to vote. Benji,
Approved.
Aye.
Paul, Jason, and I
Aye.
say aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you all. I will share my screen again. The next is sorry if you can all see that. The next is an educational audiology management contract. This is not a new provider for News Charter School, but the services being provided are new. So I want to put this in front of the board. This is necessary for us to serve some of our students who need amplification equipment for hearing. And in items 4 and 5 in particular, this simply states that this provider is going to help train our staff on current information about audiology services, especially for special education needs as it's related to our students here. They're going to be available to meet with our teachers. They're also going to monitor and set up any devices that students need so that we can serve them appropriately. And this is, again, it's not a new provider, but these services in particular are new based on the needs of some of our students. And so I'm asking for board approval this evening for this contract.
Does anyone have any questions?
My one question is that, so he's in Greensboro. Is there no one closer?
This is someone that we have used for a long time, even prior to my arrival, and have had zero concerns or issues and does a great job. So we're going to continue with him.
Any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the educational audiology management contract as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jason. I will call the roll to vote. Okay, Jason.
Approve.
Benji.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That's approved 4-0. And I'm going to apologize right now. I'm trying to take minutes as well since our secretary isn't here. So if I look a little flustered, it's because I'm writing down and also talking. So walking and chewing gum. So, all right, Melissa, go on to the next, please.
All right. The next is the teacher salary scale and retention bonus. I've asked Amanda Heifel to join this evening to help fill in some of the blanks. She had a tremendous hand in putting all of this together. So essentially, the state of North Carolina did update the state base for teachers, and what you see on your screen, I'll zoom in just a bit. In red are the areas that we need to adjust to meet this scale. Everything in white, we were already at or above. But based on the state calculations, we need to improve these numbers so that we are paying at the state rate. So that's pretty straightforward. Amanda, did you want to say anything about this in particular?
No, if the only thing is, if anyone wonders, the impact on the budget in flat dollars is just under 18,000 when you put your extra taxes and things and retirement stuff on top of the amounts, it's a little under 22,000 impact to the budget.
Perfect. Thank you. And then the next piece is a proposed longevity bonus. So in a meeting that we had a couple of months ago, there were questions about the supplement and the supplement that the county teachers get, and we are not eligible for that through state funding. And I wanted to work through how to recognize and reward those who stay. It's no surprise that the world has a shortage of teachers. We have been managing that ourselves here at Noose, and I want to find a way to encourage not only our staff members to stay, but also to use this as a recruiting tool for new staff members who may be interested in teaching at Noose. And so what you see down here at the bottom is the proposed scale, noting that it will cost us approximately $120,000 gross plus taxes, but the scale is below, and it is for salaried and for hourly. So if you have been here a year plus, the bonus is $600. If you've been here 3+ years, it's $1,500. 5+ is $3,000, and 8+ is $5,000. For our hourly staff, 1+ is $300, 3+ is $800, 5+ is $1,500, 8+ is $2,500. And noting down here at the bottom that we would like to pay this in January retro to October for those that were employed in 21-22 and came back this school year and are in good standing and projected to complete this school year. But moving forward, the bonus will be payable each October. So it would serve as a recruiting and a retention tool for us to help us recruit quality candidates and retain quality candidates and teachers. So this is up for discussion and hopefully for approval from you all. What questions do you have?
Dr. Blackwell, has this been reviewed and approved by the finance group? Has this been shown there, verbalized there?
I verbalized this to Jason last week.
Okay. And what is the impact? What was the thoughts of the finance committee?
So Paul, I apologize. We've not had a meeting. I'm sure we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But my reaction to it when I heard about it was, my first question was how does this compare to the county supplement? How are we, again, if we're going to compete for the county for teachers, how does this stack up? Dr. Blackwell, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I will let you answer that question better than using your own words. How about that?
Sure, no, that's fine. Well, the essential question here is, how comparative is it? And supplements are paid out based on years of experience as well. The average county supplement payout per the scale on DPI for Johnston County in particular is about $6,500. And that's from 0 to 25 years average. So for us, we're looking at working towards that. We have to start somewhere, and we want to make sure that whatever we put into place is sustainable year after year. And so we felt like this was a really good starting point to continue moving forward towards being able to match or ultimately beat that supplement that's paid out in Johnston County in particular.
So the salary impact to us as presented here, what would that be for this fiscal year for our budget 22-23 year?
The bonus,
The longevity bonus, yes.
approximately $120,000.
And is this a true experience bonus, or is this just a longevity at NCS bonus?
It's a longevity at NCS bonus.
Okay.
and why, and tell us why you chose just the longevity for NCS versus overall.
The goal is that we will be able to retain top teachers. And one of the ways that we hope to do that is by rewarding them for staying with us. That's the short answer.
So Melissa, the overall total impact to the budget of both the changes to the salary scale and the retention bonus would be how much? Do you know the two together?
Amanda's at 140.
Let's say it's, no, hold on one second. I'm doing some quick calculations for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Salary alone without taxes or retirements, 137,450. The salary schedule change would be still subject to taxes and retirement, but as a longevity bonus, we wouldn't have to pay retirement on that money. So it would just be taxes, which is another benefit to doing the longevity bonus that way. It saves a little bit to the budget until we can figure out what's sustainable and how high we can push to reward our teachers.
Did we do
Okay.
any comparison on this for experience instead of longevity at Noose? Have we run those numbers to see what the impact would be, what the total cost would be if we applied this as an experience factor instead?
I did not run that.
Okay.
No, we didn't. I mean, we can, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to guess that it's going to be much higher than that because we have some very seasoned veteran staff members. We have many, and we can certainly run that and get it to you in March. But we were really hoping that we could get this to our people sooner.
So I'm sorry to go back real quick. Amanda, I want to make sure I understand. So the 137,450, that's all in combined, but then we also have to deal with taxes and benefits. But so basically the bonus is 120, and then the adjustment to the salary schedule, if my math is right, it's like just over 17,000.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And part of, as you can see at the bottom, the clause, as we in any bonus that we've looked at since I've been here, those bonus dollars are always subject to each year, to the enrollment, to the financial projections that we have. We hope it's sustainable. It would be, that's the goal. But we always put that caveat in there, because it's hard to predict sometimes what each year's going to look like. So.
Thank you. Can I ask, was there any discussion of paying this amount in 2 installments so that if they were in good standing in October, they get half, and if they're in good standing in May, they would get the other half?
Melissa, we looked at that. We can certainly consider either way.
I just wondered if there was a reason that you all thought, 2 things that I think of. One, that would encourage that, we're going to be looking at keeping our employees, all year. And so, but also the impact to their income would hit in different years then, which might benefit them from a tax perspective. Now, granted, we want them to stay year over year. So if they do, then it would be the same amount annually, but in 2 different school years. So just a thought, about structuring it that way. Sure. I don't know.
We are open to to any suggestions that you all have about that. That makes perfect sense to me, Jane.
One last question for me. Does News have a performance bonus based on their performance reviews, annual performance reviews, how they perform in the classroom? Is there a performance bonus program?
Benji, I had been working on a merit-based pay system for quite a while, and with COVID and the loss of staff and learning loss, it felt like right now we need to work on trying to recruit and retain. And then once again, we get our feet solidly back under us, review and revisit that. But we currently do not have one, no.
Okay.
And Melissa, Dr. Blackwell, just again, I'm not trying to, pin you down because I know you're still working on it, but the way that you have that pictured, would a merit pay take the place of the bonus? Would it take the place of the salary schedule? Would it be like a combination of the two? Like,
essentially, the performance bonus would be broken up into 4 components. One component would be your years of service at News.
okay, so it would still be the bonus component, but the monies would be earned differently.
That's right.
Okay. Well, so go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, I like that we've got a plan that helps now. I like some of the points that have been made, asking questions about performance-based and overall years of service in the system, comparative, like what are our peers doing? That's what that not knowing that's what I don't like. So I feel very torn. Like I want to help our teachers now, but I do think some of the points that have been brought up are good. Is this something that, and I'm talking out loud here, so is this something that maybe we think about approving for the rest of this year and having a bigger study done that maybe we can adjust and vote on over the summer to start a fresh year next year? Or are we pretty much, when you want us to vote on this, is this locking us in for a 2 or 3 year period? I'm just.
No, this is just for right now. I mean, and it's all of this is subject to enrollment and finances for every year. So if we know we can cover it right now, we'd like to cover it right now. And then if you all would allow me until maybe March or April to pull together some of these pieces of data that you've requested, we can revisit it for years to come. I was hesitant to put years on it just because everything is, does fluctuate from year to year, our ADM, our budget. And so for right now, I mean, this would happen for this school year and we can absolutely revisit it. I can get you those data points if you would like to say, for the next 3 years, we're going to do this, or for the next 5 years.
Well, I think it's important for recruitment and retention to try to help sooner rather than later, because it's hard. It's hard enough everywhere now.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think some of the points that have been brought up tonight are very good, that we and to have some time to chew on it, on those data points would be good.
Okay.
Before making long-term plans.
Sure.
And I, if the rest of the board, agrees, I would feel better about this if we broke it up in half and and did half of these amounts retroactively to October and pick May or the end of the school year or whatever, for the other half, just to encourage that, completing the school year. I don't know. That changes the wording though.
Could we separate the pay scale from the longevity bonus?
You mean for voting?
Yes, ma'am.
We don't have a motion, so certainly I think we can.
Okay.
I also think that, that we could vote on the pay scale now and hold off on voting on the bonus if board members would feel more confident or would like to have more questions answered before voting on that. I think that's fine too. I understand, Dr. Blackwell, that you guys would like to get this paid out. And, I think the board is very supportive of doing what we can to pay our employees well and to provide bonuses. Part of me is also cognizant of the fact that there are 4 of 6 of us here tonight, and this is a big expenditure. And certainly that's not anything that you all knew in advance, nor did we. So again, to your question, Benji, I feel like if the board would feel more comfortable, I think we could vote on the salary schedule tonight and put the bonus under unfinished business for our March meeting, since we do not have a meeting in February.
To me, I would prefer to have some time to be able to look at these numbers and to look at the options and maybe give us a chance as a school to run run some different scenarios. I think that would be beneficial. I feel like I'm okay with the salary scale, but I'd like to see some options to the bonus. I was, like you said, I support the teachers 100%. I think we need to do something to help here. I just want it to be fair and equitable. And I think we need to see some different scenarios and ask some questions here.
Okay. Jason, Paul?
I see the point as far as not having everybody here. I think it's a good approach. It's very much like Longevity's done with the state. I think it also it provides an opportunity to reward those that have been with the school. So I see a lot of merit with it. But if it makes the board more comfortable to look at some different options, that's good too. So.
Yeah, I definitely think the salary, getting that taken care of is a kind of that needs to happen. I'm torn. I really like I understand the loyalty piece too, but I always go back to what are our peers doing sometimes. So maybe that's, and again, I don't know what Michelle and Nicole think too. I can, again, I'm just babbling now, just torn.
Yeah.
I like the loyalty piece of it, because often you hear in a lot of different organizations about folks that stay around and people come in and they make salaries and that may exceed or be right at somebody that's been there for a long time. It just seems like that not doing things like that encourages a behavior for people to just always move around.
Yes.
So I certainly see it.
Look, as a former teacher, that was one of the things that kind of keeps sticking in my head. There was nothing more frustrating than me busting my tail in the classroom as a new teacher and have somebody come in from another school who was not very good at their job, but they automatically got longevity pay just because they've been doing it, this tenure, kind of a tenure system. So it's something that Dr. Blackwell was able to measure when they're here at News. So that's why I initially was like, yeah, this seems really good.
Dr. Blackwell and Amanda, would we be when you're looking at different options, could we potentially look at a hybrid option where we look at a certain percentage of the bonus, whether it's 50-50 or 75-25, but a certain percentage of the bonus being longevity at News and a certain percentage being years of service, as a teacher, and I think, we would rely on you to make recommendations about what you think that percentage could or should look like. I don't think it necessarily would have to be a 50-50 kind of thing, but it might be nice to that would balance things out. A teacher coming in with 15 years experience does get rewarded for having been a teacher that long and for that level of experience, but they're not the only ones who get rewarded, right? A teacher who's been at News for 7-8 years would get rewarded also potentially more because of that longevity at News.
Sure.
So some kind of hybrid model might be a good, I hate to think if that would be really difficult for you from a monitoring perspective, but something like that might be a nice balance. I don't know. Benji?
But
Oh,
one
sorry.
quick question.
Yeah.
So for somebody that's coming in, let's say they got 15 years experience, come from another school, do you take care of them when it comes to salary point of view up front when they are, I just think about the person that's been somewhere 10 years versus the person that comes in the door. You get reevaluated and you get offered a salary when you arrive. And so I'm thinking, all right, well then does longevity help catch up those people that, or does our salary policy address all that? If it did, I don't think we'd be necessarily talking so much about this. So that's just kind of where I go back to. The people that come in the door, no matter where you're at, are the ones you get a chance to take care of when they come through salary wise. It's those that have been around and stayed around are the ones that the high performers that you always wind up getting limited because of your policies and such.
That's true. That's a really good point. And the salary schedule does to some extent really help, to your point, Paul, if you come in with 15 years experience, you're automatically going to, make more base salary.
Yeah.
Well, just a thought, I think, but I do think that given, that we're missing 2 people and that this is quite a big, amount that I while I support having a bonus structure, I do think it would be nice for us to have a little bit more information, potentially a little bit of time and maybe some options, or at least understand, I think that we all would be open to you all presenting some options and still making a recommendation to us about which 1 or 2 you think make the most sense and why. But that would be helpful to us because we would have data points to compare to.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or questions, Benji?
I was just going to make a motion if we
perfect.
are to that point.
Perfect.
I would like to make a motion to approve the updated salary scale as provided, with those salaries to change in February payroll and retroactive to beginning of the year as presented tonight.
Second.
Wonderful. Jason, second. Okay. Great. All right. So let's vote. I will call the roll to vote on the motion to approve the updated salary schedule as presented. Jason.
Aye.
Benji.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Motion carries. I will make sure that the bonus discussion is placed on the next meeting's agenda under unfinished business.
Okay. Thank you all. Well,
Sorry, it's just me real quick. I was going to save Jane a minute. I've got a transcript running for this. So if
Okay.
you missed stuff taking your notes, you're going to be okay. It's recording who says what when they
Thank
say
you.
it, and it'll be a full transcript for you.
I appreciate that. That will save me. Thank you, Brad.
Yes, ma'am.
that does come in handy. Okay. The last item that I have for you, is the News Charter School 23-24 calendar. And it is on your screen. Can everyone see that pretty okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So the days in red are the days that we are out of school between the purples. So the first day of school would be August 14th. The last day of school would be May 17th, and also graduation. Off to the side, you can see the number of days they're in each quarter. I'm going to go to the next slide and just show that to you very quickly. We can come back to this in a moment. So this past school year, you can see on the left are the number of school days that we had in each quarter. And then on the right, you can see the number that we are proposing for the 23-24 school year, with an addition of 11 instructional days. So we've reduced the number of work days. We've increased the number of instructional days in each quarter, except for quarter 2. And then everything else you can see there. For quarter 1, we're adding 3 days. For quarter 3, we're adding 5. And for quarter 4, we're adding 4. For a total of 165 instructional days. The calculation on that then lends itself to us having an excess of about 7 1/3 school day, based on the DPI requirement of 1,025 instructional hours. So we're adding 11 school days back into the calendar, and that gives us an excess of a little over 7 school days. So you will see that some things remained. Our parent-teacher conferences will still be in October and in March. We will still honor all of the federal holidays, which are marked with an H. We have 1 spring break, and that follows the first week of April, which is a standard we've pretty much set. A topic about spring break that comes up every year that we continue to kind of work through is with athletics, because in particular our high school conference is in multiple counties, and each county tends to have spring break fluctuations. We are trying to make it the best that we can by just holding it that first week of April that follows the Good Friday holiday on March 29th. It tends to be the standard of either it being the week of Good Friday or the week after Easter. And so we still understand, and speaking with the ADs, that we're going to run into issues where students are going to have to compete in spring sports during their spring break, and may have a week prior or the week after off, depending on the scheduling for the competitors. So we also were intentional about listening to our staff. They asked for extra time at the start of the school year to prepare for the school year. We realized that 1 week was just not enough. We had a large number of staff members who commented about that. We were able to give them extra time at the start of the school year by reducing work days elsewhere and still increasing the number of instructional days by 11. So this was viewed through the teacher leadership of Mr. Matisoff and Ms. Dunn. They shared it with their teams. They received feedback. We met several times to make revisions to this based on staff feedback, and then also considering the family feedback that we received throughout the school year, one of which was they had asked for, there was questions about why we had what was essentially 2 spring breaks, one in March and one in April, and that was because of JCC courses. We have made that revision and removed work days. So our students will be at school 11 more days than last year. So this is the final ask that I have of you this evening, is that you all will share any questions, thoughts about this, and then we can get this approved so that I can get it submitted to the state.
So did DPI hours go up for next year?
No, the DPI requirement is still 1,025, but we will have 1,072 and a half.
Okay, but so right now we've got 154 days on the 22-23, and if you take that times 6.5, it does not come to 1,025, I don't think.
We have adjusted our bell schedule for next year, so there's that change as well. So you can't kind of compare it to this year to last year. Yeah, as we worked that 7-period day, we're continuing to rework that for next year, since this was our first year doing it.
So how does that change? Sorry, Dr. Blackwell, what's the bell schedule this year versus next year?
Right now we have 7 1/4
Hours in the day.
It's essentially taking that CA class, which I'm not quite prepared to talk about this evening because we haven't
No,
shared
that's
it with our staff. But essentially taking that CA class that we have separated out right now and adjusting it within the schedule for next year.
Got it. Sorry.
That's okay. It's all right.
I just want to make sure our numbers match. That's all.
Sure.
So when you say the bell schedule changed, the time.
The start time and the end time for next year does not change. It's still 17 to.
That was the question that I was trying to ask that I
Yeah.
didn't ask very well the first time. Thank you.
Could we add a legend to the calendar with the abbreviations? That's a
Absolutely.
question that we see
Yes.
every year. We talk about it. It hasn't happened. So the NDs, the H's, the ALs, could we get a legend to tell what those are?
Yeah, we sent one out this year. I just do it like this for ease of you all looking at it. But yeah, there was a legend calendar that was shared. Maybe Ms. Heifel or Mr. Williams can confirm that it's on the website. It may not be.
You just see that question asked a lot. So
Yes, I understand.
I will make sure it is good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the 23-24 operational calendar? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the News Charter School 2023-2024 operational calendar as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Paul.
approved.
Oh, I need a second.
Second. Sorry.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Benji. Perfect. Okay. Having a motion on the table and a second, I will call the roll to vote. Jason,
Aye.
Benji,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So motion approved. Calendar's approved.
Fantastic. Thank you. The next item on my agenda is just a very quick lottery update. We held our lottery last week and it was virtual. It's posted for the public viewing as well. But essentially we have 432 applications. We offered 236 seats. Bearing in mind that 78 of those were kindergarten, 27 of those was an open additional first grade classroom, as we are adding a class per grade level as we continue to scale up. And so we are excited about those coming in. We're offering tours. We've seen an upswing in the interest in our tours. People are still putting in applications to be on the wait list. And so we're marching right along with enrollment for 23-24. The final item of the evening for you all to enjoy, I have invited Emily Harris to join us this evening and share with you all her 2022 annual giving campaign report. So with that, Ms. Harris, I will let you take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Blackwell, and thank you for having me. For those of you who are new to News or may have just been accepted in the lottery, welcome. I'm Emily Harris, the Development Manager at News Charter, and you'll be hearing more from me about our school's philanthropy program very soon. To bring you up to speed about why we need a philanthropy program, as a public charter school, we receive a fraction of the funding that our surrounding county schools receive, and none of the funding that public schools receive for facilities. So our philanthropy program aims to fill that gap for buildings, staff bonuses, professional development, and all sorts of daily needs at our school. We encourage everyone to get involved and give regularly. Looking at last year, our philanthropy program's first full year, I'm very proud to say that approximately 60% of our staff gave, including 6 staff members that gave at the annual Giving Society level, which is $1,000 or more. 4 members of the board of directors also joined the inaugural annual Giving Society. A total of 21 donors joined at that level and will be receiving invitations to our first annual Donor Appreciation Gala, which will be held in February at the Serving Spoon at 119 in Pine Level. This year, I hope to have 100% board participation and 100% staff participation. In total, more than $36,000 were generously donated to News Charter's philanthropy program. Our goal in 2023 is $50,000 in direct giving or 50 members of the Annual Giving Society. The main goal of the Development Office continues to be educating our stakeholders and community members about the gaps in our funding and about the importance of giving regularly at whatever level you are able to News Charter. We need the board, the staff, the parents talking about and sharing information regularly about our philanthropy program, as well as participating in our philanthropy program. And just a reminder that your gift at any level can be earmarked for areas of our school that are important to you. Some examples are the band program, athletics, giving in honor of or in memory of students, graduating seniors, staff, or family members. I can also give you some examples of tangible things that our philanthropy program provided to our school last year. We paid for one band student to attend the big Disney field trip that's coming up in February. We paid for students' items like JCC textbooks, senior athletic banners, and caps and gowns for families in need. We paid for flags to be displayed on campus for our 9/11 memorial. We bought a wall-sized TV that's being installed in the gym to display philanthropy program highlights and donor and sponsor information. We gave $4,250 to the Blackman family, a member of our News Charter family who lost their kindergartner to brain cancer. This is the heart of our philanthropy program and the drive behind our giving campaigns: to bless, to enrich, to support, and to enhance, and to propel our school forward towards our goal of being the best school in the county, providing the best education and the most wonderful experience to all our students. Together, we can do big things. We can raise big money for big projects and big blessings. I'm hoping to kick off a capital campaign for our new elementary building and athletic complex this year, and I will need all of your help and support. Please feel free to contact me with any questions, any potential donors, or ideas. I encourage you to plug into our philanthropy program and give early and often. Thank you and happy giving. Does anybody have any questions about our philanthropy year in review?
I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you've put into this, and really appreciate getting to see sort of the high level view of how the first year went, and looking forward to this year and what's coming up. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you.
That concludes my items to share for this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blackwell. Appreciate that. Next is the financial report. Dr. Blackwell, are you presenting that?
I guess that would be me.
Okay, thank you.
One more share screen. So, board members, I have uploaded to the drive the past 3 financial reports for October, November, and December. I'm just going to share the most recent one this evening. You can see that our budgeted surplus continues to be $167,357.17. Our current deficit as of December 31st was $537,321.86. Our budgeted local revenue doesn't change from month to month, but the local revenue received, I apologize, that should say 1231, is only $75,988.66, which means that we are still waiting on about $1.6 million in local revenue to balance out things. And that does come in each month as it is paid out by the counties. The account balances, you can see there, the operations, retirement, escrow, and contingency funds are all listed out for you. Total account balances is currently $2.3 million. It's a very quick, brief financial report.
Do we know why the local revenue is so far in arrears? Why hasn't that funding kept track with the schedule?
I believe Acadia invoices all of those for us, and they send out those 30-day warning letters to let them know that they are past due. But I do not know of any reason why it is. It continues to be a struggle for us. I know there was legislation put in place to prevent that.
Yeah. I know it had always been an issue the first couple of months of the year, but as we would get to the middle of the year, they would catch up. I was just wondering why it was taking so long for our students to be, the money to be provided for our students as it should be.
Sure. Ms. Heifel, do you have any insight into that? I haven't heard from Kathy about it, so I didn't know if maybe you had.
I haven't heard this year. Last year, when they changed their processes to a 9-month payout, it almost encouraged the schools on the front end to be a little slower to start the ball rolling. We had the same issue last year. You're right, Benji. By mid-year, we were rolling. So, I mean, I can look into that and reach back out to you guys and see what I find. But I haven't been concerned because I know once it gets to rolling, it's an automated system. But it's just public schools are having it's a hard time getting all the kids sorted in their systems to who to pay. So, but I can check on it and let you know.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Any other questions for the financial report? Thank you very much, Dr. Blackwell. Our standing committee reports. The governance committee did meet, and Michelle and Nicole are both on that committee. I did sit in on that, and so I'll try to provide kind of a high level summary. The discussion centered around new board member recruitment and the process by which we will do that. There is a document in the meeting folder that is the National Charter School Resource Center Charter School Governing Board Recruitment Tools document. And that is the document that the committee spent a lot of time discussing and looking at, because this is this document really lays out best practices for how to recruit board members, and not just the recruitment, but recruit, interview, onboard, that kind of thing. And what the committee discussed is that actually a lot of the things that are best practices we were already doing. Having the governance committee, although it wasn't called the governance committee previously, it was the I can't remember what it's called, but having a committee do a lot of the sort of heavy lifting of putting together the documents, the application materials, those kinds of things. And if you're, I don't know if any of you have this pulled up. I'm trying to see which page. If you start to look, if you have it in front of you on page 9, it begins the discussion of selection of new board members and the suggestions for a strategic interview process. Basically, the governance committee is responsible for developing the process, and so that's what they were the meeting was working on. And so they're going to be working on coming up with a timeline and on the documents that are needed for the application materials and the documents that will be shared with candidates. And then from a high level perspective, the things that once we've identified candidates who are interested, and the committee has spoken with them and they've indicated their interest, there will be a few things that they will that we will ask them to do. The first is to meet with Dr. Blackwell and take a tour of the school, and to discuss kind of, ask any questions they have about the school. And then they'll also be we'll invite them to observe a board meeting. Our next board meeting in March is in person. So our hope is that we will have candidates identified by then and that we can invite them to come and observe at the in-person board meeting in March. And then interviews. the candidates that that we interview, the governance committee felt that, especially given the fact that we are currently a 6-member board, that's a very small board, and so the committee felt that it would be nice and important, actually, to invite all board members to participate in the interview process if they would like to. And the way that we would do that would be having 2 groups, again, so we don't have a quorum in any one interview. So we would have, 3 board members in one group and the other 3 board members and Dr. Blackwell in the other group. And we would be asking the same questions, and we would have a rubric, and then for each candidate. And then after the interviews are complete, the governance committee would meet and review those rubrics, and would make their recommendations to the board regarding who they would recommend to join the board, and then the board would vote on those recommendations at the next meeting. So that's sort of the process that was discussed and laid out. It's very, very similar to what has happened in the past. I think it has shifted a little. Sometimes I think just the governance committee has interviewed. I think there have been years when the full board has interviewed potential candidates, but the governance committee felt like allowing all board members who want to participate in the interviews process would enable board members to make a more informed choice and vote, so that they would be able to both look at what the governance committee was recommending, and what based on the overall rubrics from all board members, but also based on their experience with each candidate. That's sort of the gist. There are some other things about onboarding and all of that I think we will get to, but right now the most important thing is obviously recruiting potential candidates and getting this process started. Michelle is planning on sending out potential dates for the interviews, and I know what they are most hoping is that board members and anyone who is viewing this and is part of the News Charter community or part of the broader Johnston County community who would potentially be interested in joining the News Charter School Board of Directors to reach out either to me or to Michelle Denning, who is the governance committee chair, or to Dr. Blackwell, or really to any board member, and they can get that information passed along. We will be, the governance committee will be putting together a letter to go out to the News Charter School community, sort of explaining the process and asking people who are potentially interested to reach out. But I know it's also the hope of the governance committee that current board members, if you know of anyone that you think could potentially be a good candidate, to please let Michelle or myself or know, so that we can reach out to those potential candidates and see if they would be interested in applying to be on the board. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Wonderful. And so be on the lookout for more communication from Michelle regarding the specifics that I just sort of outlined. Okay. The next standing committee report, Financial Oversight Committee. You guys didn't meet, is that correct?
We did not meet,
Okay.
but it is, I've made it a priority to schedule a standing time in the coming months for us to put on the calendar. I did kind of want to give an update quickly on,
Sure.
So the separate building, and I'm sorry, I'm losing my words. Our our building, not foundation, but what are they called? The facility committee? Is that what it's
The
called?
facilities board, the separate, or the
Yes,
committee?
separate-
Are you
the
talking
separate
about?
one. Yes,
the
the facilities committee. Yeah, the kind of the separate entity. I have contacted several peer institutions on that. I just finally heard back from one on Monday, and since I'm on the road, we've set up a time to talk next week. I'm going to reach out and ping the other ones back to just kind of follow up and say, hey, would really like to hear what our peers are doing in regards to that. I've also talked to Dr. Blackwell about adding maybe a few more reports in, and Paul, I'll go through these with you as well when we meet, of adding maybe a few additional reports during the financial oversight to kind of give our stakeholders a more comprehensive picture of everything that's going on around the school.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And we'll look forward to hearing more about that in coming meetings. Benji, Risk Management Committee, did you guys meet?
We hadn't met officially, but I talked with Dr. Blackwell. The next step for us as a committee is for the risk management or for the NCS risk assessment to be presented to the school. And Dr. Blackwell and her team are working on that, and they'll be able to present that in the month of March. And then we'll be
Okay.
able to review that for our March board meeting. So that'll be the
Okay.
next step for our group.
So, okay. So just to understand, so your committee will review that before it's presented to the board?
Correct. Whenever we
Okay.
met with Dr. Carpenter, next step for this group was for the school to go back and look at the risks that are there to the people, to the property, to our processes, and to give some feedback on how we're doing to those risks, and just present a risk assessment to the committee.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We'll look forward to hearing that, excuse me, in March. Okay, moving on to our ad hoc committees. Dr. Blackwell, the Facilities Committee, it's my understanding that we may need to be looking for a board member who would be willing to lead that ad hoc committee. Is that fair?
Yes.
Do I have any board members who would be interested in leading an ad hoc facilities committee?
I'll take myself off mute on that. I will, since I'm already doing some of the legwork for that, I will assist with Dr. Blackwell on that.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. I know Dr. Blackwell does as well. I know there's a lot of moving parts with that right now. So thank you very much. If there's anyone else, I don't think with our ad hoc committees, we don't need to have 2 board members, but if anyone else would like to participate, I'm sure you would be welcomed. So you can reach out to Jason if you decide that you would like to do that. And Benji, our ad hoc strategic planning committee.
No
did not
meeting.
meet. Okay, thank you. We have no unfinished business and we have no new business. We have no ongoing board development and self-assessment, but I do know that we need closed session. So I will entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel and administrative discussion per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
thank you, Paul. Thank you, Benji. We have a motion on the table to move into closed session. I will call the roll to vote. Jason,
Aye.
Benji,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So we will move into closed session now. Thank you.